Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of Talking Bollocks for Reefy as Fuck. Today's subject is fragging. I'm going to hold my hands up right now and say I have done fuck all in preparation for this, other than write down a couple of things to do with fragging.
Checklist.
So I've got plugs, not butt plugs, glue and techniques, racks. I'm going to discuss my growth test. That's plenty. Prices and sizes of frags is something I actually want to talk, especially to Mr. Budnick about. I want to see what's happening there. Photography and how misleading it can be. Tools for fragging. Safety during fragging. I personally wear a Johnny, sometimes two. And then dips and things that you actually might use whilst cutting. So I'm going to start it off with the cutting. So I'll find a coral that is ready to be fragged, and then I will fill my Griffin diamond bandsaw with water, and I will put a little bit of Brightwell Frag Recover in the water just to clean the cuts. I'll be honest, that's pretty much mostly for me because I don't think it does anything. I clean the saw really well every time I use it. I clean the blade, but a little bit of a kind of disinfecting type fluid within that, it's not going to do any harm, I don't think. It smells nice. So when I get it splashed all up on my face with my goggles and mask on, it smells nice. So that's cool.
You don't have a fragging katana?
Not yet, no. That's an idea.
That'd be cool.
So,
Yeah, for no prep, here's just my 50-point checklist agenda that we're going to talk through. Zero prep. I have only gathered this 3-page agenda.
One page, the writing's small.
Ron, what are you fragging? What are you fragging mostly?
Acros at the moment, but I'll be honest, my LFS is obsessed with Goniopora and Duncans and Acans at the moment. So I really need to... This is truly grown from just purely a passion and my own hobby. I wasn't planning on selling frags. I didn't even get a frag tank to sell one frag to anybody. It was just to collect frags, make some frags, have a bit of fun, and it's now slightly grown arms and legs. So I
have a few laughs.
Yeah. Should have a cigarette. You're fucking throwing me right off now, Russ. So yeah, I've been collecting acros personally because that's what I like to look at and that's what I like to grow. So that's what I've got most of. And I have to admit, people talk about soft corals and LPS and stuff like that, faster growing, blah, blah, blah. But acros are, as far as I'm concerned, they're infinitely easier to frag and stick to plugs.
If the topic
100%.
of the day is fragging, SPS acros is a great discussion starter because it is the easiest. You can frag them by bumping into them accidentally.
Yep, 100%. And, just as long as you get a reasonably flat cut on the base, I have found that most acros will stick to a plug if it's slightly dried off, because I store my current frag plugs in my sump in a little 3D printed basket just to get them covered in bacteria and things like that. I have found that has worked quite well. If you get a nice flat cut with that bandsaw, a little dab of super glue, that's all you need. When you go
so you're fragging your acros with a bandsaw?
Yep.
Wow, that seems like a lot of work.
No, it's super quick.
It is easier to just snip in the tank, just lop a branch off, but I don't take the extra precautions you do of the medical baths.
Yeah, just a snip is all I do. Couple.
Yeah, I just mean to get that perfectly flat base. If you don't have a perfectly flat base and you get your plug and you stick it on, the frag then starts to wobble and flop, and you have to try and get that super glue to skin over. If you have a perfect flat base and you go straight to the ceramic base, that super glue squeezes out the sides and you get a bond almost instantly.
I think if you have almost doctor-like knowledge of super glue, you can get both sides to kind of stick together. And
so do you mean a little dollop on the frag and then a little dollop on the plug, and then bring them together, almost like
because from
almost?
my understanding is glue likes to stick to glue. So if you get the glue to stick to the frag, and then you get the glue to stick to the frag plug, then you can get the glue to stick to the glue.
Yeah.
A dabble, do you?
I just said,
so you don't need the flat. So you're just, if you ask me, you're just spending extra time that, someone who's really busy doesn't have, like me.
How many frags are you doing though? Difference between how many frags do you guys do at a time?
Sometimes I usually do like 30 frags at a time.
Okay, that's a good amount.
But I don't, I'll just let chunks sit at the bottom of my tank until I decide to pull it out and cut it into 4 pieces.
Yeah.
And then, or I'll just pull it out of my main tank so it doesn't get buried in sand, throw it on the frag rack, and when I build up enough, I'll cut them up and put them on plugs. But yeah. So Ron, you're cutting mostly frags from your frag system, not you're not trying to pull stuff out of your display to frag it though, right? So that's a whole different world. Yeah. Because mine all come from a display.
Yeah. So if I'm
Ron's getting into the international frag distribution, so we're dealing with a pro here now.
We're dealing with an expert. When you sell, you start making money. Professional. That's where that comes in.
So when you're fragging from your tank, Jim, and if I'm fragging from this system, which the colonies are almost big enough to start fragging, I use these little bone cutters, and you just take a snip. But then I take them to the bandsaw, get that perfect flat surface, and if you're snapping off a branch in the tank, the chances are at the base of the frag, it's going to be sitting like this in the plug. So no, I try and find what the best part of the frag is to then get a frect flat cut so it stays as vertical as possible. Because as you guys know with my throwing test, the vertical center position within a frag plug is the winner.
You got your little laser level so you can plumb them up perfectly.
I mean, yes, he probably does.
All the plumb. Fuck's sake. So, glues. So, there's a bit of a controversy.
All natural.
Yeah.
Huff it.
So, my glue of choice is the Two Little Fishes one. Purely based on the fact that it's actually a chunkier bottle than we normally get retail here in the UK, unless you go specialist, and my wholesaler sells it. But
what'd you think of that BSI? You have that a whirl yet?
That is literally what I'm going to be using probably tomorrow. I've not used it.
That's good stuff. I like that stuff.
I'm looking forward to using this. But Russ also sent me the Polyp Lab stuff. The little, what do they call it on Reef Beef? Glulets or something they call it? Yeah. And it's, I'll be honest, it's all right. I don't think it's anything special.
At the end of the day, it's all glue, right? Gel glue, and some's a little thicker and some's a little thinner.
Yes, exactly. That's why I like this stuff. It's the consistency that I'm finding with what I'm fragging. It's doing quite well for me. And it sits not as a lump on the frag plug. It does puddle slightly, but I go along all my plugs and I'll put a dollop, and then I'll get my frags and then with them. If I do something with an uneven base on it, or something that tends to slime up a lot, I use a 2-part, but this is a silicon-based one. So if you're rubbing that under your tank water, it doesn't break down at all. No clouding, no plumes, nothing. The only issue I have with this is it does go off really quickly. So you've got to take, unless you're doing a proper session of 50, 60 frags, you have to make little batches and keep going. If you do a big ball of that and leave it sitting, I reckon you're talking close to 60 seconds and it is done.
So
Man,
what do you do, like 10 a piece and then mix up another little
three or four, Jim, to be totally honest.
That's it, really?
Yeah. But the other reason why I use this is for sticking primarily frags into the tank. So your rocks, obviously, they're all higgledy-piggledy and there's nooks and crannies and things like that. And you never get the perfect hole. And this is where this comes in. It literally gives you a perfect base. And I do the sandwich glue thing when I'm using this putty. I will put super glue, putty, super glue, and then smoosh it into the rock.
What kind of putty is that?
It's silicon based. It's made by
sorry, go ahead.
It's made by a company called Lyox. I don't know if you guys even get this here. So
is it a pink and gray, and then you mix them together? Is that what that is?
It's pink and pure white, 2 parts.
And then
part A and part B.
It sounds like the Toonsy putty is very similar. Yeah, and I've had good success with that.
It's quite like the Toonsy stuff.
The batch size really determines what glue I'm going to use. Like if I'm just doing 1 or 2 frags, I like the little polyp or the Polyp Lab stuff or the whatever the gel dollar store brand is. It's great for doing just a couple. Like no matter how careful I am with a big container, it ends up getting sealed shut.
Yeah,
I have to admit, even this is 2 ounces. I've had a couple of mishaps with that, but normally I then just put the cap back on, start using a new bottle. I'm a little bit more careful with that bottle, and then I unscrew the full thing and then pour the remainder from the previous bottle into the new bottle. One other thing I want to say about this is because it's so thick, you don't want air bubbles in the glue because it just makes fragging really, really messy. So I just 3D printed a little photo thing for frag plugs, which holds frag plugs. But I just basically expanded the model big enough that my glue sits in upside down, so it's always ready to go. So that's a little reefy as fuck gluing tip.
Does it, so here's my problem with fragging the way you do it is I usually have bigger frags. Even if I cut the bottom flat, they're like a 4-branch tree branch already. And it doesn't matter. Like it's going to fall over. It's almost like...
Have you looked at something like Stacks? They sell like a little 5-pound box or like the rubble where it's the rock that's cut flat on 2 sides. That would work great to hold the bigger pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, but what I'm saying is even if I cut the bottom flat of my frag and put whatever I put it on, forget about the frag plug falling over. The frag is going to physically fall over because it's not an evenly distributed weight pattern. So as soon as I hold that frag in the glue, if I let go, I can't just go to the next one. I actually have to put it underwater with no flow and hold it for 30, 40 seconds till the glue really starts to harden. And what I've found works for me is obviously that glue hardens in contact with water, almost as that starts the hardening. So I actually spin my frag and like twist up the glue so that the glue keeps twisting around the base of the frag. And as it does that, it kind of expands and more of the glue comes in contact with the water and it hardens a little quicker. So I glue the bottom of the frag, I glue the frag plug, put them both in the water. Then I stick the frag into the glue and spin it slowly until it kind of hardens a little bit. So but that's because I'm not doing like little straight frag plugs that I want to, watch grow. What am I going to do with a 3-inch frag?
So sounds to me, Jim, you're the absolute perfect person that uses glue accelerator. So I don't mean the aerosol stuff because that gets all over your frags and I've tried that, fucks it right up. So just like a little bit of baking soda. And now the person I watched the YouTube on actually suggested using it with rubbing alcohol. So the alcohol actually evaporates really, really quickly. But I just used water and I put it in a little dropper. So I go up to the frag plug with the glue, dollop of glue, 1 dollop of my homemade accelerator, which then sits on top of the glue and makes an instant skin. And like what you're talking about, a big uneven frag, squeeze it into the glue, couple of twists, done.
Yeah.
Super cheap, super easy to do as well. Only thing I will say is your bond is definitely not as hard.
Yeah.
That's something I've noticed.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about that.
Worth a try. Super cheap.
Yeah. Any of you see like Mark Levinson did a video probably like 10 years ago. And it was really interesting, and I thought hard about doing it with my display. Is he set up, or he showed like you could do this, set up your rock, and then he drilled a bunch of a little bigger than maybe 1/4-inch holes all around it.
Yeah.
Just into the rock. Like maybe there already were holes, and you just kind of open that hole up with a 1/4-inch drill, so that you have, and you can't see them because the rock's all, crevices anyway. And then when you decide to start colonizing it with corals, he would take a frag, glue it to like a little piece of the stuff you were talking about that turns pink. And then in the other side of that glue, put like a 3/4-inch long air tube and use that like a frag plug. And then you could just put the coral anywhere you wanted in your tank, because it was like having an infinite, all your rock was frag holders.
Yeah, where I thought you were going with that was the plug. The holes were just going to be the size of the plug
Me too.
stem.
No,
And you could just put it right on the rock. So
he did it so
kind
you
of a
hide
DIY version there.
Yeah, he did it so you don't see plugs. So it just but yeah, very similar like if you did a frag plug, but with just a I don't know, like a 1/2-inch diameter ball, or a 12 millimeter diameter ball, you could have plenty to put like a little piece of coral on one end and a piece of 6 millimeter tube in the other. That would work really well.
So the airline tube, that flexible then, so it can go if the hole goes at different directions.
Yeah, it was flexible, but I mean, how much are you going to flex a airline tube over a 12 millimeter length, right? It's not, you can't really.
So are you saying he would stick this putty stuff to the bottom of the frag and then stick airline tubing into the putty?
Yeah, so the frag would go up and the airline would go down, and in the middle would be a little ball of pink putty.
That's an interesting technique.
Then you could just take that and put your frag anywhere you wanted, and you could move your frags depending on lighting, or if you wanted to acclimate a certain frag, you could put it in a lower flow, whatever. Like it was just a pretty cool technique. I mean, you would have to be diligent about it, right? And it would take some work, but it made me think, like, for flexibility of acclimating coral when you're just working in a display tank for everything.
I'll try and find the video and I'll post a link down below.
Yeah, he looks like a little kid. It was old. He's a little older now, but
Jordan?
Yeah. Jordan's still like high school age. Jordan's friends with Salem. Jordan's our Salem. Going to school.
You sell this like
being
reasonable
smart.
and sexy teenagers?
Jordan is our Wish Salem. We love you, Jordan. We wish you were here.
100%. He's absolutely amazing in these chats. Now and again, everyone will just go off on this fucking crazy, ridiculous, childish tangent, and he'll lean forward, the youngest by quite a shout, and he'll be like, "So, straight back to the subject." So, Mr. Budnick, I'm not trying to make everybody else not involved, but obviously you own a store.
Yeah.
So
Professional.
Do you want to talk through your techniques and how you do things?
Sure. So I have if I'm doing intake,
And
which
what
I
what
normally,
store is this?
this is Great Lakes Corals. We're in northern Michigan. If I'm doing intake, which we never have to do, I can pull everything out usually. I would use my nippers, but I usually just use these at the sink when I'm cleaning stuff up. Before I'm about to do my fragging. I usually don't use these as much because if you've got a bandsaw, why not use it? It's so nice to use it. It's such like it makes it fun too. It's pretty nice. So just cut stuff through like butter, like that.
Can I ask you guys a question real quick? The ones
Yeah.
who are using the bandsaws. So I've used bandsaws on, wood and steel, but not on little frags. A bandsaw creates a little bit of vibration. Like, if you're fragging acros, does it ever just kind of break the acro?
No,
It's a smooth enough cut that it just
the blade,
It's like a massage.
the blade
like
is
it.
absolutely like so thin. It's tiny.
and it doesn't catch it at all. Like,
Well, you
and like,
well, it
oh
can
fuck,
it can
it's-
catch,
It can catch, yeah.
yeah.
and it sucks when it does.
It makes you shit your pants, doesn't it? Nothing bad happens. It just makes you go, oh.
Yep.
Yeah,
But-
But
so
like, you guys aren't pushing it on the table,
Yeah.
right? You got it up in the
Sometimes.
air.
Sometimes,
Well,
yeah.
Both. That's situational. So like for avias, if they're really rounded or mounded, sometimes I'll have to hold them up in the air to get a weird angle or cut. And you can't really twist once you get started or whatnot. As soon as you start to twist, that's when it catches down.
let's fire that bad boy up, chop some
Yeah.
frags.
If you've
Do it
got
live.
it flat to the base, then you can totally turn and twist. I mean, I've cut all sorts of weird shapes out of corals and things like that to get rid of
Yep.
dead or dying tissues and things like that. But if you are holding it up in the air, which you do quite often, yeah, you learn how far you can take it. But they are.
And everyone's got
Amazing.
10 digits.
Yeah. Yep.
I've got 11.
And Jim, I'm thinking the same thing, dude. Like if table saw, miter saw, bandsaw,
No, so-
any of that stuff with cutting wood, it's like I
You can
can't
put your
imagine
thumb
trying
right
to
up
cut
against it.
a 2-inch. Oh, okay. So the saw blades won't
It's
cut
diamond.
skin.
Yeah, they're like
it's a
diamond, aren't they?
It's
They're
a
not.
diamond blade. So it's all like
Gotcha.
it's just rough. You can put if you held your thumb
Right.
through it, it would sure hurt. But I think it's more of like just a friction cut type of thing more than it is
Exactly.
a blade.
I've caught my finger with it and it's not even left a mark.
Right, there's
Right.
no
Gotcha.
teeth
So
on
it's
it.
more like a tile saw blade
Kind
Yeah.
of.
than a
Yeah.
bandsaw
Yeah.
blade.
Yeah. A
It's like
tile saw blade would
sand-
be more
Super,
aggressive.
super
Like
fine.
sandpaper, real gritty
Yes.
sandpaper, more
Yes.
than a cutting edge, like a circular saw or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And they can the blades can break pretty easy too. I've gone through quite a few blades after cutting through
Yeah.
some rocks and stuff.
Is it
I think they
hard to
sell them
find?
as no, there's a guy
Like
local in Michigan that has them like half price of the Griffin brand, and I think they're just as good. I broke just as many Griffins as I have of this guy's.
I should have fucking spoken to you then.
Griffin's expensive.
Yeah,
All-
Russ
All
sent me
sales final, dude.
Russ did me a solid and sent me a twin pack and a whole lot of little accessories and things like that, and they were not cheap.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, but
You
no,
gotta have it.
sorry,
amazing.
sorry
too.
for
Anyway,
getting this
back-
off
back-
tangent.
Back to you, Mr.
Yeah.
Budnick.
Then I'll go down to Walgreens or the drugstore and I'll just grab some 10% iodine and I'll usually mix that in with my bandsaw water. And there's no math. I just a squirt, maybe two, depending on what I'm doing. Then I'll also have my bath that I'm putting the corals in. They'll also have this in there. And usually I'll have a big bottle of Restore from Brightwell. And the claim is just coral tissue growth supplement. And a lot of people I just do it because I've read a lot of other people do it. I'm not sure it does anything, but I do notice the LPS poof up whether I'm fragging or not. And I think that's a good sign when I'm watching the corals in the bin fluff.
That's interesting because this says for recovery of live coral frags and regeneration of cut coral tissue.
And this one is just encourages health, growth, reproduction, and vibrant coloration. It's more like an amino.
Okay. And that's what you dip them in, did you say? You put them
Yep,
in
after the fact. And then I'll use for glue, I've used a lot of the Reef brand stuff and it was kind of really expensive. So I've just switched to the Gorilla Glue. Was it a 20-gram, 15-gram bottles, and I just get them at Walmart. It was the easiest to find. I get them whenever I want. I can buy 20 of them if I want to all at once. I go through them pretty darn quick. This is what I use to fasten stuff into the tanks, onto the frag plugs, over the cuts. So when I'm making like LPS cuts and I'm doing some really fleshy stuff, I'll go over the whole skeleton edge all the way around where the flesh is, and I'll kind of seal it down. Sometimes I may even Q-tip swab a little bit of iodine around it, and then I'll put the glue over top of it, just trying to like seal it off from anything trying to get to it. I'd imagine bugs and things would try to get to that fresh, open. A lot of LPS has like these little super porous, and like it seems like a perfect home for any little microfauna to want to like instantly get in and make residence and just irritate further on, and then algae and stuff.
I cannot believe on this live stream, even though it's not live, you know what I mean? We have 3 doctors. That's bonkers. I had no idea.
Yeah. Fuck. So silly.
So, on you go, Zach.
Yeah. Glued discs. I think these are 1.25 inches, maybe 1.5 inches. They blow around a lot, so we'll usually use this for zoas. Zoas, we just use the nippers to break plugs apart, or razor blades. I get a pack of these rectangle razor blades. And I use these, I get a new one every time because the packs are so cheap from Harbor Freight, and they rust up the next day when I look at them, whether you rinse them or not. And they dull rather fast if you're just scraping for like an hour on stuff. So those are awesome for zoas and soft corals and mushrooms. You can take the razor blades and cut the bottoms of like a really nice mushroom, like a bounce mushroom. You can slice the bottom of the foot and leave a little nick and try to like wedge between them, and that new one will become a new mushroom and foot off. And it's super, super easy. I'm not ballsy enough to. I've seen some guys cut right through their expensive bounce mushrooms with their bandsaw and call it a day, but I just don't have the balls to do it until I've had more of them on hand.
Yeah, what's the story with fragging mushrooms? They say you're supposed to divide the mouth or something.
Right through the mouth. Yep. If you're gonna do it. Same with anemones. Anemones, I'll just throw right on the cutting board, and I'll use the razor blade. I'll kind of shrink them up, and whatever tentacles come off in the process, they just come off. I'll do one clean slice, and I always make sure that it's like a brand new blade if I'm gonna do. It hasn't been used for anything else. Not so much for anything sterile. Just I want it to be as sharp and clean through and easy as possible, because it does kind of suck to do a second pass on an anemone, especially like a sunburst or something like that. Those would also go into iodine after I cut an anemone or something like that.
I know some of the frag kits come with like a scalpel, and you can buy them separately on Amazon. Have you tried one of those? And the razor blades are just easier and cheaper.
The razor blades are way more easy, efficient. I could grab them. I felt like I didn't want to keep buying the actual scalpels. And mine, I don't take care of anything. They rust so quick. I don't rinse it right after, and I don't really want to. I would rather pull this out of a pack of like 50 or 100 and then toss it out of the way and forget about it for the landfill.
I find the cuts in the scalpel, I use the Aqua Vitro scalpels, and they're really, really good straight out of the pack, but a couple of cuts and they're completely dull, and they're really chunky. So you almost feel like you're squeezing your way through the soft flesh, whereas a brand new razor blade just straight through.
Yeah. And I like the rectangle ones specifically more than like, the trapezoid ones that you put in like a box opener knife. those always seem like they are covered in oil and stuff in the packaging.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
Makes
like
it-
shaving, double-edged shaving razor blades are super sharp, super cheap.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's a weird thing we don't mega have here, by the way. We only have the trapezoid ones that go in Stanley blades and things like that. See, trying to find
Oh,
the
really?
rectangular ones, I mean, you get them on eBay and stuff now, but see, years ago, bizarre. Really
Yeah, I
bizarre.
scrape the glass with them too. If I just get in there, where I have a 3D printed thing, but sometimes I get right in there and scrape whatever I gotta scrape. Works better than any magnet or anything. Obviously not on the acrylic. The last few things I have here were just my grow out tiles. I have travertine tiles. If it's going to be something I learned I don't want to use these on the tile saw on the Griffin. It just ruins the water instantly. It like turns it to complete clay mud. Even if you have it like I drilled a hole in mine so that I can constantly get fresh water to it, and it still is way too dirty. It all settles down on the bottom.
It makes like a slurry.
Slurry, exactly. So these are for just having big colonies that I'll clip from, and then maybe I'll take them over to the saw like Ron does. These don't blow away as easy as the other stuff. The fish can't knock them over. And they were really cheap for a box. If you got a case from Home Depot, you could get a ton of them if you got like 50 or more. And then I got a bunch of these thin tiles.
I forget who was posting about it, but somebody said they had really high zinc from travertine tiles. So
I've heard that, but I didn't have any issues like that. I mean, all the corals
That was
plated
Alex.
over them.
Alex
yeah.
had problems
What's
with
that?
that.
Yeah. The issue with travertine tiles here is that 90% of the ones you find have been filled. So instead of being perfectly natural with all the pits and the dents and the things like that, most people want them as a super smooth tile for floors or bathroom walls and things like that. So they pack them up and they fill them with who knows. So it's always put me off. Although I did find a website one day and the price per tile was super cheap. And then I got to the bottom of the page and it was because I was buying 10,000.
Oh, wow.
Get the fart left.
well, now that you're an international coral distributor, you'll burn through those in no time. You should just start getting pallets, bro.
Yeah, I'm not an international coral distributor yet. Not yet. It's still got to happen. Before we move on, I want to talk about frag plugs. And have you guys ever seen this brand of frag plug at all?
Specialty?
Has anyone ever?
Is that a rocket ship?
Or this one in particular? No? Has anyone ever seen these?
That one doesn't show up.
Does it not?
Is it like a cockropora?
Yes, a Cockropora bellendiensis. Yes, correct. So yeah, what size of frag plug does everybody use in general? So I'm using 28 mil, which
Is that the diameter
yes,
of the outside of the frag plug? 28 mil?
28 mil.
Inch and a quarter?
30 millimeter.
Inch and an eighth?
Okay.
What are you using?
I just chosen 28 mil. I've no idea.
Inch and an eighth.
A lot of suppliers here, I say a lot of suppliers, we don't have a lot of suppliers, but the few growers we do have here use tiny plugs, like almost the same size as the stem itself.
Really?
You know,
I think that
Big
They're
acros
growers,
don't
not showers.
big acros do not ship well, and then there's usually a lot of disappointment from the other end when they do get to you and they're all broken. And there's so much water to get them to float if you want to float them, and they don't really make ramekins big enough to like support a ton of big acro frags.
I have
kind of feel like
experienced a lot of disappointment on my recipients.
So, sidebar, deli cups look like they could be a great option for shipping larger acros. Like, like the soup style ones that hold a quart or two.
it's so
I've
much
thought about
water
that.
though.
Can you explain
Yeah,
how big
shipping would
what's a
be
quart?
terrible. Dr. Jim, can you crunch the numbers there and for our metric friend?
How big is that in terms of a cup? A quart? How big is it?
I don't know.
Milliliters.
Two. A quart is 4 cups?
I don't know what a cup
Is that 4
Yeah.
cups?
4 cups?
quart?
Yeah, Zach's got it figured
Mr.
out.
Warner, that's fine. I like
95% of a liter.
95% of a liter.
Yes, it's
So
it's 946 mLs is 1 quart.
That's quite a big cup.
I can only imagine Mike's face as the meeting comes to a screeching halt because we can't figure out such a simple conversion.
I just typed it into Google, a quart to liter. It took like 2 seconds.
How many cups was I right? Are they 4 cups in a quart?
4 quarts to a gallon.
Yeah,
So
16 cups to a gallon.
Quart,
Okay,
or before
How
you're
many
right, so
hogsheads,
4
though?
quarts.
that is how big the cups are that Russ is discussing.
Yeah,
Must be
4
some-
cups.
Who's selling big Jimbo frags like that though? Nobody.
Yeah, right. You selling solo cup in it?
Yeah.
Like for the mini
I'm not gonna
colonies and
ask.
stuff.
I'm not even going to ask.
What a solo cup is?
It's a solo cup.
Oh,
You don't
you
have
must not have heard the
solo cups?
Toby. You haven't heard the Toby Keith song?
What?
Hold on. Is a solo cup the red ones you see in like horror movies just before everybody dies?
Yes. Usually at
They
the
don't have
party scene.
keggers in
At a
Scotland.
party?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. They
Keg?
don't have keggers
Did
over
you-
there.
What's a kegger?
Fuck. Oh shit. For fuck's sake.
Seriously? Are you just doing this to fuck with us?
No.
Right.
What's that? Right. I know what a keg is, so I assume it's something to do with a keg. So what's a
It's
kegger?
a keg party. It's a keg party.
Like-
You don't have you never had a keg party?
So
You're
you're
going
going
to a
yeah.
kegger. You're going to a party that has a keg. A kegger.
okay.
Or multiple kegs.
Yeah.
And usually there's like a sofa on fire or something, and you're all around
And
it.
red solo cups.
That sounds
Yeah.
like fun. So how much
And a barbecue.
how much fluid is in a keg?
Ooh.
Sorry.
A lot.
Dr. B is on it.
Can't you get like a half barrel too? Like, or a quarter
Yeah, you
barrel?
can get a half keg and a quarter keg.
Pony
Yeah.
keg.
So are these
Pony.
smaller kegs
Little
or
pony
just
keg.
half full keg?
Mhm. Then of course you need the tap, a trash can full of ice.
Yeah, the tap was always nice when somebody had one.
And a
'cause,
funnel
that
and
rental
a
fee
pipe.
put you over your budget.
What is it when you get
Depends
the
on
funnel
which
and the
keg you
pipe?
get. A hogshead keg is 54 gallons.
That's a lot of fucking beer.
216 cups.
That's a
No,
ton,
216. Wow, that's a lot.
and a butt is 108 gallons.
Hold on. Do people go to butt parties?
With kegs, yeah.
864 cups in a keg. That's good.
Wow.
Anyway,
American or Scottish
But
cups. though.
what is a solo cup? You think a solo cup is 2.5 cups?
It'd be 16
They make
ounces.
different sizes.
Yeah, but
The
you know, the
ones are
standard. We're
16
talking
ounces.
standard.
The
Standard
standard ones are
16
16 ounces. Yeah, I believe.
16 ouncer. It's like two cups.
473 mils.
It'd be like pint sized.
473 mils.
473 mils.
So much easier milliliters to liters. Just what's
so that's a nice.
This isn't on the checklist.
That's a nice juicy edit. That's a chunky one. I'll literally just delete until I see Jason pulling that face.
Well, no, I was just thinking because we were talking about a solo cup. Now, if you go to a bar and you order a
Fuck's
beer,
sake.
you order a pint, right? But you don't use pints as a measurement over there.
Yes, we do. 473 milliliters.
But you don't. Then why is it always such a fucking mess when we talk about cups or this or that? Like, and you fuck it all up, Ron.
We weigh ourselves in stone. Fucking stone. You explain that to me. It's so dumb. But
Well, I
then
never
we're-
thought about the whole like go to a bar and order a pint, but then that's not something that any other time you fuck it all up. So I'm very confused now. I'm very fucking confused.
I'm just impressed a solo cup is an actual pint. That's something I did not know.
There you go.
A solo cup is a unit of measurement.
Fuck's sake.
We're going to be talking in solo cups from now on. How
We
many
are.
solo cups?
We are.
How many solo cups is your tank?
And I'll secretly be thinking, that's a pint.
How many solo cups and how many diehard fives do you rate it?
Right, so, Russ, you were talking about plastic cups for transporting larger corals.
Yeah, just like a takeout cup, like a soup cup from like a Chinese restaurant. You know, it's
So
like the deli cup with just the screw-on lid, holds a good volume for bigger frags instead of just tossing them in a plastic bag.
Do you sell big
Oh.
corals, Zach?
I thought you meant like you know how I shipped my ramekins to you. So you don't use plastic and stuff because they damage the coral more in transit because it's a hard surface when it does drop in transit, because they do drop in transit. The bag is supposed to cushion and bounce back when you do have drops, and that's like the hope. Every time I usually get a hard packaged coral, they bounce around too much like that, and there's always broken tips and whatnot. But the bag ones always ship way better for that scenario. Does that make sense?
Totally.
makes sense.
Yeah, I was just thinking from like a volume, a reusability perspective. But yeah, that
from
makes total sense.
store to home, fuck yeah, that seems like a really good idea. Super like safe, and then they can pay attention to it. They can keep it safe. They're not dropping it. I think in shipping, no, but to home, yeah, that sounds like a really good idea.
Russ is such a liar. There's no way he's concentrating on anything other than tips, bags, and hard package. No, no way. We'll talk about it later, Russ. So, continuing on tools. So we've talked about bandsaw and things like that. So I'm going to show you my top 2 fragging tools. So my number 1 is these lock-in surgical long tip tongs, and literally for getting frags in and out, that is what I use. I've got the Max Spec ones. I've got a set of 3D printed ones. I think I've got a set made by Toonsy. Nothing works as well as these. And the only other thing I'm going to say is this style of Aqua Vitro by Seachem tweezers, purely based on the fact that that gap, that triangle, locks around the edges of a frag plug absolutely perfectly. But the only thing is, because I have the silicone lock-in racks, when I push it in to the silicone lock-in, it then leaves a 2mm gap at the base. So I then have to use my finger to undo it, like that, go back down on top of the plug and just push it home. So it's still not perfect, but the only thing I will say about this is, the difference between this and these long nose pliers is, when you're using the long nose pliers with a frag plug, you have to get the lock perfect, but as soon as you go and squeeze it into the rack, it just starts to pivot. And then more often than not, you'll break the seal of the glue. But with these, you get it.
Why don't you just use your hand?
Yeah, you could use your hand.
Opposable thumbs.
That
Use
means
tool.
you're having to dry your hands constantly going backwards and forwards to the glue station and all the rest. And you just soak the place.
You really try to not make a mess, huh? There's your problem right there. You're trying to not make a mess.
I have problems. I admit that. I'm a fucking nightmare to live with. I'm a nightmare.
See, and I don't fight with the blocking frag plugs. Gravity works well enough. I like bigger tiles.
I do agree.
So.
And those tiles you sent me, I'm absolutely loving. Now, urchins and snails are moving those tiles, and it is a little bit annoying. But I think I still prefer that to the pain in the arse of the lock-in. I would go back to egg crate, but I'm not going to get into the egg crate thing because egg crate here is garbage. Absolute garbage. You put that in a tank and you have lights on it, you are going to grow a forest in 6 days of green hair algae.
Mine settled in. It took a while, but
Did it
I
get
haven't had to
really
change.
bad though? Like, and I mean,
I mean,
stuff that long.
I had 3 4x2.
No.
I had 3 pieces of egg crate, and I would rotate one in. So I'd have 2 in the tank. I'd put all my frags onto one, pull one out, put another one in, slowly move them over, and they kept getting coated in like a red slime algae, just coated. Within 3 or 4 days, it'd start building up, and within 2 weeks, it would almost want to float to the surface if I didn't have enough frags on it. And totally gone now.
What color are they,
I
Jim?
haven't changed a frag rack out in 2 months.
White egg crate is nowhere near as bad as the black here in the UK.
I don't know. I have white. I didn't even try
Right.
black.
Yeah,
But
I might try the white and see how it goes.
yeah, mine was I just no lighting adjustment, little bit of a flow adjustment, and the algae completely went away. Just took a little bit of time, and now I've got a real cheap egg crate that covers 4 square feet of space. So
Yeah, I need to either change up where I'm getting the egg crate or just not use it. Or I can unbolt the top sheet of these frag racks from the bottom with these tiny little hex nuts here and just take the sheet of silicone out, which I've considered doing.
that's cool.
Yeah, at no extra cost. So,
What about we're
up.
talking frag racks? We're talking frag racks. Where's our man, Mr. Warner?
I just got a nice pair from him I purchased. I got really they're working really good. I haven't taken pictures of them yet, but they're holding some nice Monteporo right now in my acro tank.
super.
Yeah, awesome.
And the magnets are like tough. Like you can, if I'm not careful putting them out, they will snap to the glass hard.
Yeah.
So
I need to upgrade my ones for that then.
That's cool.
But so talking about little frag racks, so hopefully Mr. Dub will come on and show us them. But the only other frag racks I use are these little ones made by ITC here in the UK. So you can buy multiple different types and size of the rack. I think the smallest is 4. I think this is the biggest, which is 20. But the cool thing is that these magnetic couplers snap on and off of any size, and you can use them for any size of rack, which is quite cool. So you can just swap your rack out to clean and snap these magnets on. And the other side of the magnets are pretty chunky, like really, really well made for such a tiny rack. And there is Mr. Dub. So Mr. Dub, do you want to show us your frag racks you're making?
I'll have to do a live stream. I don't have any on hand. Am I on mute? No, I'm not. What? You think I'm prepared? I was just laying in bed a second ago until someone mentioned my name.
Okay, we'll do it live.
Come on, Mr. McLean.
Hold on a sec. Trying to find them.
would like to find some more racks that are not magnetic, that someone can hang down really nice from the tanks. Because sometimes I do get scared that I won't pay attention to every magnet that I have laying around.
Magnets do make such a mess of a reef tank.
Yeah.
They really do. I remember having a Max Spec gyre. I think it was version 1 years ago. And then both magnets started to go in the tank. Every coral was closed. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? Water change, water change, water change. Nothing was getting any better. And then I went to clean the magnets and they were so swollen. I was like, holy shit.
Oh, man.
And it's because I was soaking them in vinegar, and I'll never, ever do it again. And since not using vinegar, I have never, ever had a swollen magnet again.
Citric acid, no problem.
Nope. Here we go. Zach has found some photos. Nice.
So don't mind the questionable shape of the star. but those little nubs, those little arms help with locking. As you can see, like that's upside down, hanging out. I have other pictures elsewhere, but I'm not going to go chasing them down. But I have weight tested it with coral actually applied to it. It it won't let go. So that's so yeah.
And you're enjoying using these in store, Mr. Budnick?
Yeah, I've got two of them and they're super handy so far. I'm going to use them to take photos on. They hold all my different frag plugs in pretty well.
So is the plan for you to potentially, via Mr. Dub, sell these in store?
That'd be cool. I would like to.
I mean,
We got fucking doctors and professionals. This whole group, whole fucking group.
Engineers.
Yes.
No. No.
I reckon
Professional Z Dubs. You sold one, didn't you? You sold one. Professional.
Yeah.
That makes you a professional.
Yep, engineer and professional.
You are a professional frag rack maker.
I reckon if we all concentrated within 2 weeks, you could probably all get me to the moon.
Which one?
Well, somebody's going to say Uranus, aren't they? Somebody's going to say Uranus. I'll just there you go. I fucked it for whoever else was thinking about it. So,
we are being so inconsiderate to the actual doctor we have here.
Doesn't one called that? Doesn't one called that? So I'm going to start calling him Berry Boy. I've decided.
Given how old I am, that's kind of a weird idea.
What, calling you Berry Boy? I mean, if you were from Ireland, I would call you Londonberry.
Okay.
What is that?
Londonderry is it's an area.
Oh. I thought you said London berry, like berry raspberry.
Anyway, favorite fragging tools. Who wants to show their favorite fragging tools? Okay, Jim's is his his index finger and his thumb.
Brute force.
Mine are these long. No, I ordered these as angled, but they sent me straight ones. Complained. They gave me all my money back. I get to keep them. Win.
What do those cost in Scotland? Because I ordered a 2-pack, one 18 and 12 inch, and I think it was like $13 off Amazon.
I think these were maybe 12 quid, something like that. So $16, $17.
Harbor Freight
Gotcha.
has them too.
I mean,
If
they're
you're trying to break branches off.
They're mega badly made in terms of, I mean, can you see how wonky they are?
Covered in a nice coating of machine oil.
They're just, I mean, they're really poorly made. But I've had these for a couple of years now, and yeah, they are my number one tool. I use them all the time.
I just like being able to grab stuff out of the tank without getting my arm wet.
Yeah,
Right, that part's nice. If you're breaking branches with those, you should look into needle drivers. So like a pair of like 8 or 10-inch needle drivers are going to be way stronger for breaking branches off.
Needle?
Is that the same as a needle nose? Needle nose plier?
No. Very different.
Needle
drivers are
driver.
what we use to sew in medicine. So they're designed to literally hold needles really, really tightly. Yeah.
Those look like they would crush vermitids very easily as well.
Yeah.
I use those for that. Yeah.
Good idea.
And they have carbide tip ones that, are a little stronger, et cetera, et cetera. They will rust, but if you run some, they're fine.
I rarely ever use those. I have them on our shelf. Maybe I'll find a use for them now.
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially I got some like 8 and 10-inch long versions of them for like $15.
Cool.
And they're really good for like breaking branches off. Like if you need to take something off that's in a difficult location, they're very effective for that.
I love how Mike is pretending he paid for them. He fucking pocketed them in the hospital. Straight
I don't think I want anything from there, thanks.
in the glove box. Boom. That'll go with the rest of the shit I've stolen.
No. The last thing I want to do is bring home some like nasty needle drivers from work. No, mine are straight off Amazon for like $15. But the funny thing is they're extremely useful for all sorts of things, like opening containers where it's like hard to get the edge of like a seal off or something. They're perfect for things like that. But for fragging, they're awesome. The other thing I use are tile nippers for like removing the bottom of a frag plug. So if you want to take off the bottom of a frag plug or shorten it for whatever reason, then I use like handheld tile nippers, and those are excellent for that.
Okay. So do you mean like snapping off the stem?
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll drill with a 7/16 carbide tip cement drip bit into a rock, and then like glue the stem of the frag plug into it. And if you can't drill deep enough into the rock with a carbide bit, then you just cut it shorter with the tile nippers. Or if you wanted to sit flat on something too, you can do it that way.
Okay. I never thought about the tile nipper things. That's a really good idea, because I'm always terrified using my bone cutters in these stems, because when it finally snaps off, oh my God, it's like
Shit goes
like a fucking
flying both
rocket.
directions.
it's like a
Yeah.
bullet.
Yeah,
Not
it's like
made
a
for that.
projectile.
The tile nippers are way, way better.
And they don't nip your hand, I take it, because sometimes I've caught bits of flesh in these.
Oh yeah, I've done that too.
Fuck.
Yeah, I've
Well,
done
and
that
then
too.
you ruin the other tool. Like you cut through something really hard and cool, now there's a big gouge in it.
Yep.
Yeah. You were talking about the 4-inch tiles earlier. So I have like an old tile saw that's just, the ones made like a quasi table saw, and just cut them on that. It's way more effective. And like for some of like the corals in my tank, I just cut them into 2-inch pieces and then super glue them into little towers and then stick the frag on top of that. So now they have a very heavy base that won't tip over that easily, and you can start your frag on that off the bottom, so it's not getting covered with crap.
I used to use a tile saw, Mike, but the only reason why I stopped was that the tile saw I had here, the cutting disc, which is a kind of stone-based disc, it was so chunky I was actually losing quite a few millimeters of coral every cut.
Well, I don't actually use it for the coral. I just use it for the actual like cutting the tile.
Got you. Sorry.
Yeah, so I like pre-cut the tiles and have like little like 2-inch like ones and things like that. It's already set up.
Ah, right. Okay, so you're making your own frag tiles.
Yeah. That, and I also made the cement bases too. So
Oh yeah,
that's a whole other discussion.
Bundt cakes, she called them.
Yeah, the mini bundt cakes that are basically you get the mold from like wherever. Any place that makes cakes, it should have these things for molds. And then you mix like
I love the
Portland
shape
cement.
of the base, how it looks once stuff starts to branch out on the bundt cakes.
Yeah, it
Like
looks
a
cool,
boob, like a boob.
I guess. But you can drop the frag plug in the middle of it when you're ready to like add a coral to it, and then just glue around the edge, and then you have like this extremely solid base that won't tip over, and and it works really well. But obviously that's a long-term endeavor with those, because it takes 6 months roughly to get them to the point where you can use them.
Well, and from the pictures, from the pictures I've seen of yours, it seems like on a flat surface, SPS seems to kind of puddle out more before it starts branching up. But on those half circles, it seems like they're more prone to start branching as they expand. Is that what you've noticed, or?
I've read some things like there's one guy who literally puts them on just like acrylic rods, puts frags on there because it forces them to branch immediately because they can't base out. And so that's definitely something you can do. I don't really want to do that in my tank, but I think probably the less area they can spread over, the more likely they are to start moving up.
That makes a lot of sense.
So, who else has a favorite fragging tool? Russ, what's yours?
For SPS, just those little snips. I like the 2x2 tiles. I don't really use frag plugs. No, if I get something in on a frag plug, I'll usually take the coral off the plug, or if it's encrusted, just cut the stem off and plop it on one of those 2x2 tiles. Then I can move them around, take them out of the tank if I need to. Yeah, SPS is really the only thing I frag. And some of the stuff like digis, oops, hit it with the turkey baster, glue that branch to a tile.
Yeah, so we have almost exclusively talked about SPS and Stony Coral fragging and things like that. Who has fragged successfully? I mean, I must admit, I tried fragging Toadstool a few years ago, and I think out of 20 frags, I got one to finally stick. It was a nightmare. And then I saw somebody with elastic bands, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. It just makes total sense. What do you use, Mr. Budnick?
Use the razor blade and then the rubber bands. I hold the rubber band over the disc after I cut it, and then I put it in no flow, or I'll just cut them and throw them in I have a box in my soft coil system that's just got rubble in the bottom. And it's pretty much zero flow. And I just wait for a week for stuff to attach to that, and then I'll glue it to a plug. But the razor blade seems to work just fine. And sometimes if I use the rubber band after the razor blade, no matter how loose I make it, I still end up with like two stuck to the disc instead of the one that I had tried to cut on there. And then I'll end up snipping that one again and having two more out of that accidental one.
Do you find fragging Zoas? I mean, I really do wish Jeff B was here because he has a fucking Zoa fragging machine. That's another thing I really, really struggled to frag. They just slimed up so much. I just couldn't get any adhesion to anything. So is that rubber band again?
No, super glue. I just glue them, cut them with the nippers. I don't ever saw them because I don't wear any protection or do any type of protection when I'm doing any coral stuff. I just kind of rip them apart a lot of times. Like for the Zoas, I'll just rip them apart.
You
and then
go
I'll
in
glue 'em.
all natural.
Yeah. Raw dog it.
Fucking
Raw
knew that
dog
was
it.
coming. I knew it was coming. That's one of the things I love about you guys. You're so fucking deliciously predictable.
Fuck off. The Zoas we could especially with Brianna's help, we can pump out a ton of Zoa frags really, really quick. She usually when she helps me, she's gluing and I'll work the saw. And
No.
it works so nice as a
Usually
you
with
dare
Brianna's
say
help,
she's
when she
helping you.
she takes them out of the tank, cuts them, glues them to the plug, puts them back in the tank, and I'm watching.
yeah.
Well done, Brianna. Thank you.
She is phenomenal. It would be very hard to do it without her. But she is so good at making them look nice on the frag plug. And she doesn't just try to make like the easy, quick little glue, like slap it on there. I had a few other people come and try to help me, and everything looked so horrible when they were done, and their whole hand was covered in glue. They were like looking at me like this the whole time, like the
would be
babies
me.
with dirty hands. Yeah.
That would be me.
More glue is better.
Fuck,
It'll
like,
stick better.
help.
But she's
And
got
then
a
it's
lot
a
of practice.
challenge. It's like
She's got a lot
you're
of
going to stick
practice.
to this specific plug. I'm going to use enough glue to get you on this plug rather than admit defeat and start over on a new plug.
Beth is saying, I was going to get on the chat, but I see it's almost done.
How does she know?
How
does she know it's almost done?
Because I think Ron probably had a 1 hour Zoom meeting
what-
set up. And
I set it to 1.5 normally. Just
yeah, so
I've got to choose an amount of time, and I normally just go for an hour and a half.
has anybody used any other
Put 4
glues
next time.
other than the red stuff and pink stuff and super glue? Anybody used
Yes.
SeaTac or any other stuff?
I have attempted to use SeaTac, and I have to say it is not for me. Now, in fairness to SeaTac, I will say as a disclaimer, the tube Russ sent me, I think either got really cold on the plane or really hot on the plane, something like that. And it definitely wasn't perfect. It was a little bit firm in the tube. And the only way I could actually get it to come out of the tube was by standing on it. So
Whoa.
when it eventually came out of the tube, and I used it. Just, I couldn't get it off my fingers. I couldn't get it to stick to any frag plug. I tried using it dry. I tried drying my frags. I tried drying my plugs. Nope. I completely and utterly lost my shit with it and gave up. And I wouldn't use it again. I have heard through the grapevine, however, or using it on a dry skate, it is absolutely amazing. I think you said that, Russ, for bonding.
Oh yeah, on dry rock, it works phenomenally well to glue up like that flat stacks. That's how I made some of my rock work. And like taking stuff apart, I removed one of the rocks from the display, just to make more room for corals. And I broke it down to put it in the sump, like the lower refugium section. And when I was breaking it apart, the rock broke instead of the SeaTac bond failing. So where I used it, it's still epoxied together or whatever it is.
Yeah, so it works for that. And to be honest, if I had it here in the UK when I was doing my scaping this tank, I would probably have used SeaTac. But in terms of a product for fragging, nah, not happening. Not for me anyway. Has anybody else used it here other than Russ?
I used it, and because I use my hands and get water everywhere, it worked well for like the first 15 frags, and then my whole work area was so wet that everything I touched was wet. And as soon as you get the SeaTac wet, it starts to almost, like, it does start to harden, but the coral won't stick to it once it gets wet. It has to be dry. So I got through like 15 frags. It was working great. And then everything was just too wet. You know, if you take a coral, like a big acro, like I have big acros, I can't dry the whole fucking acro off before I stick it to the SeaTac. And by the time I get this big acro and I dry the bottom like little area off and then turn it over to put it in to the
Did you blow on
SeaTac,
it?
water drips right down into the SeaTac and nothing sticks. So for that, it didn't work well for me, but.
So it has applications in the hobby, but I remember Jake Adams doing the video, and he was the first person that mentioned about it. And he talked about the fact that it was taken from basically what they thought like clams actually connected themselves to the reefs and things like that. I was like, that's quite a cool idea. And in theory, it sounds good, but I find it a little bit hard to understand why a product that's for a reefing hobby can't get wet. I don't understand. So dry scaping, great, fine, but as this episode is about fragging, we'll move on because it doesn't work. Personally, for me, for fragging, it doesn't sound like anyone else has had a massive. Jim, you said your first 15 frags you used on it and it worked okay before your workstation got wet. So did those frags remain stuck?
13 out of 15, I'd say did. Yeah.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah.
And where did you physically dry the coral, the base of the coral before?
Yeah, I had to dry the base of the coral before sticking it in the SeaTac. Otherwise, they wouldn't adhere.
I think you have to
But
blow
by
it really hard.
the time I flipped it over, the bigger frags, the water would just drip right down to the base before I could even stick it into the SeaTac.
Yeah,
I guess I could have stuck the plug upside down into the base of the.
I don't see it being a practical option for most, and I certainly don't see
that's
a practical option for somebody doing loads of frags. So the likes of WWC, I don't see them moving to.
Well, not to
Now I
mention the
can't-
cost. That stuff's not cheap.
Beth, do you want to do you want to talk about?
I'm having like vertigo. Beth's like running
Yeah.
around a fucking. I'm like, I feel like I'm on a ride.
So
I
I
can
don't-
get
I
a
had to
roller
go get-
coaster.
I had to go get my AirPods.
So I don't want to be insulting, but Beth, you look like you had a good night.
I did, but thanks. I got showered.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us what your favorite fragging tool is, Beth?
I haven't yet to frag anything. So
You're a frag virgin.
I am.
Wow. So you've never broken anything in your tank by accident, or because that counts.
You bought.
That's
you
the only
bought
way I've fragged
frag
anything.
plugs?
I've broken some stuff.
You bought frag
Yeah.
plugs a bunch.
Yes, but that's because I had to I didn't frag anything. I will take for like when I get a frag, I will take it off of the plug I buy it on, and I will put it on a new plug as part of my dipping
That's the
process.
same.
Oh
Yeah.
well. All right.
It's
All
the
right.
same.
Well, I don't use a tool for it though. I mean, it's just
Sure, yes, you do. This is a tool.
oh, these are tools.
We've
Okay.
agreed.
All
These
right.
tools.
This is the top tool of the group.
That's Jim's
Ron
number
and
Right.
Russ
one.
and Mike like metal tools.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So then in that case, I've used my fingers, and I do have some cutters.
Like these.
Yeah. Yep. Very similar to those. Yes. And I do have I bought a pack of sterilized. So they come individually wrapped, with scalpel blades, stuff like that. But that's about it.
Knives.
I did buy a Dremel in preparation for the future. Hopefully I will be able to frag some stuff, but I've yet to use it.
Well, that's exciting.
Sitting on a shelf waiting.
Yes, in my shelf that I stayed up until 1 a.m. organizing last week. My closet, I should say. It's even more organized than when you guys saw it.
What? Color coordinating?
Ron's getting excited.
Yeah.
No, I got some more bins so I could, separate things. I have everything organized by feeding and, plumbing parts and just, that kind of stuff.
I think there's.
Now you have to have that shit strewn everywhere, so you can't find anything. That's how you do it.
Oh no, I want to be able to find things.
Where's the fun in that? That's not fun.
Well, I have fun in other areas.
The fun is in the organizing and the labeling.
Oh.
Yes, that is part of the
No.
fun. Yeah.
No, see, for me,
No.
I have
No.
to. This is not just my weird brain, right? I have to fight a wee bit here, especially on plumbing parts and things like that. I have had to get things in a hurry from time to time, and knowing exactly where that is at exactly the perfect time, priceless. So there is a wee bit. I honestly wish I could be more like Jason in some aspects of my life. Honestly, I think it would be amazing to just not give a fuck. I can't.
Or to wear sleeves.
Yeah.
To be liberated from the oppression of sleeves.
Breaking those chains.
I don't know. I would rather have a basement and not wear sleeves.
Oh, that's where we're going. Is that where we're going? Organized closet and a basement.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it is really, really nice having stuff organized and labeled if you're dealing with something urgent and you need somebody to go grab something for you.
Oh, fuck that.
Oh yeah, no. There's nobody going to get it for me.
No, me either.
No, you just go do it
Zero
yourself,
chance of
because
that.
if you want it done, just do it yourself.
Yeah, who knows what they'll come back with.
They'll come back with some bullshit and you'll be like, what the fuck is that? That's not what
exactly.
I said. And then you just
bring the whole box.
So.
No, I am totally going to defend Russ here and say that a lot of my fish room setup with the color coordination of hoses and things like that is if I'm not here. All of the automation and all of that is, listen.
How many days have
well,
you
if you're not there,
been
that's a different story.
Yeah, when the hell is that, Ron? I mean, you're there every day.
So really, it's for you. Stop bullshit.
It's for you,
everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
No, the plan is to not be here every day. And if Matt Alk is spiking, I say to one of the members of the staff in the garden centre, "Can you pop into that room?" Which one's the Alk? It's the white one. So
well, how's that plan working out for you?
It's not happened yet.
Okay, there you go.
But it's coming. It's coming.
When we
Is it,
send
though?
Ron to the moon,
Is it?
it'll be a
So how
perfect
long is
setup
that?
for
Yeah,
his.
how long has that plan been a plan?
Just under 7 years.
Why
Okay,
is Beth?
great.
Why is Beth going after Ron for organization when she's more organized than him?
Thank you.
Oh, my point is that he's trying to say that that's not for him,
Oh, so
and it's for
organization.
him.
So
He's trying to put
organization
it off
is
like,
for-
oh, I'm only organized because it's just in case I'm not here for the other people, but he's always there. So it's really just for him.
It's 50
So,
Got a point,
I
you know.
admit that. I
That
admit that
is a good
completely.
point.
It's my own neuroses.
Ron
I like
and Russ
seeing
are now.
stuff labeled.
This was
I
a good
sent Ron
session.
a
Are you guys
video.
feeling better?
I sent Ron a video of my
Weirdos.
garage showing 8 boxes where they had labels on the outside and they're all tucked nice and neat on a shelf. And his
Yeah.
response is, "This satisfies me."
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep. Firmly on
Did
this.
we get some? Did we
Firmly
get
on
I
somewhere
got a
today?
new label
Boys?
maker, and it's an exciting event for the both of us.
I don't
Absolutely.
even own a label maker.
I love my label
Oh,
maker.
I have masking tape and a Sharpie.
I do love mine. It was a
Yeah.
I don't
really
even have
nice.
one.
The label
I need to
maker.
get one, but I don't have one.
Waterproof
Masking tape and a
tape,
Sharpie.
Waterproof.
Water-
waterproof
send you-
tape for the label maker, a QWERTY
I can-
keyboard. Boom.
Waterproof.
Yep.
Oh, I can
When's
send you a
it gonna
link
be
to where I ordered
underwater?
mine.
Well, I mean, I can appreciate that, Russ, because when Russ sent me some stuff, everything was nicely labeled. The bags were labeled, so you knew exactly what everything was. I can appreciate that. I'm not
And-
that guy, but I wrote on there in a Sharpie. But
Russ, how was your stuff labeled from GLC?
I believe their exact quote was, "I labeled nothing, LOL."
excellent.
Just a side note, I've just noticed that one of these tools is magnetic.
Whoa.
Or it could be you transferring your magnetism through it.
Ooh, you're magnetic.
Aww.
I don't have a sexy drop, I'm afraid.
Do you have a demag tool that you can run those over?
What could I do to? No, I'm not. I don't have anything. No, I don't. Oh well.
You can stick to a magnet now. Some stainless can be magnetized, not all of it.
Okay, I've never noticed. It's just I went to pick up my snips and my big long nosed tongs came with them. I don't remember it happening at the
Austenitic
start.
stainless steel.
You can demagnetize them. Just need a.
Oh.
Oh right, hold on. So the
Use
left,
the microwave, right?
that's not sticky, right? But the other side is.
Huh.
So just the
The,
one piece.
What the fuck is going on over there?
So if they would have manufactured that on a really high-powered magnet, it could transfer some of the magnetism into the steel, and they would have needed to demagnetize it afterwards.
Yeah, the
If
left.
they didn't
the left,
do that, you get a magnetic piece of steel.
Yeah, the left part isn't though. Anyway,
Yeah, because that one probably was done a little differently.
Isn't that how it springs open against itself? The magnet, right?
You know, ICP has a really great song about how magnets work. You should check it out.
What is a magnet?
everybody. Plays.
I'm taking the whole stainless steel claim with a big grain of salt on the last batch I bought from Amazon because day one they were nice and shiny, and then after using them on day two, there's already spots of rust. So it's just a consumable for me.
Grades. You get different grades of stainless steel, don't you?
Yeah, so they
You
could
put those
they could
away
add
wet,
a little
didn't
bit of
you?
add a little bit of chromium to them and call it stainless steel, and it's
Yep.
Sorry.
gonna rust right away.
Yep.
But
Mike,
they could
what
call
were
it
you
stainless
talking about?
steel.
Mike has a cleaner
Actually, it's
for it.
martensitic or martensitic. Stainless
Mar-
steels are the ones that are magnetizable. So it's either 410, 420, or 440 stainless. It's probably 410 or 420 for those. And the other stuff is who knows what.
But if you're getting some of those tools for that cheap, they're probably coming from a Chinese manufacturer, and who knows what kind of they're melting
No
whatever
quality
scrap they
control.
can melt
Yeah.
up, and
No quality
get
control there at
whatever.
all.
Yeah,
Maybe
Not
some
all
bonus
stainless is
lead.
truly stainless either.
yeah, it's not all.
Well, this has been
And
the
it's
most
like you always have to tell
tangent
everybody.
talking bollocks we've ever filmed. I think very little of it has been about fragging.
We talked about fragging almost the whole time. We needed
And
a couple
Silvercups.
breathers.
Right, Jason, favorite fragging tool? Don't you dare say your index finger and your thumb. Oh, so the glue itself. What kind of
Harbor
glue?
Freight glue, cheap as shit, works great.
And is it
Comes in
gel?
a little tiny. Yeah, it's a gel. Comes in like a pack of 10, I think, for like $3. But it's super cheap, and this way I don't ruin the tubes because the bigger tubes I ruin pretty much immediately. And then I use this Instaset.
Oh yes.
This kind, not the aerosol kind. The aerosol kind sucks. But
That
this, like,
kind's-
if you
yeah.
like manage the pumper pretty good, like you don't get it everywhere. It just helps things. If you're trying to stick something back on a plug and it doesn't want to do what it's acting stupid.
So
A little
is
bit of that.
Is that so? Glue on the plug or glue on the frag, and then spray it all, or do you spray?
Yeah,
the glue?
I just kind of stick this right down like where the glue joint is, and just like give it a half a pump, like so just a little bit comes out, just to get it to start to like set so that it will hold for. You don't have to hold it forever, and then let it dry.
I use that to build my escape.
I did that
What
too.
What is the actual curing agent?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think it says on here.
It's anything alkaline because cyanocrylate is quite highly acidic, so you're trying to just activate it with moisture and something alkaline. So baking soda is what I used for mine.
And does that
Yeah.
create a bunch of heat at the base of the coral
I've never noticed
when it hardens that quickly? Okay.
I've never noticed an exothermic reaction. No.
If you use a bunch of this, like if you're building escape with it and you're using a lot of glue and a lot of accelerator, you will get a little bit of heat on it. But from what I've seen, it kind of dissipates pretty quick. But in like when I'm gluing something to a plug, it's realistically you're getting a couple of drops on there. I don't think it's a big deal. I've never known it to be a big deal. Maybe on something like super fleshy, it might be.
Yeah, the only
But on,
time
like-
I've tried it is on dry rock, and I asked because I did notice a little bit of heat, so I was just wondering if that would tick off
Yeah,
more
like if-
sensitive corals. But
when
it sounds
you,
like you haven't noticed it.
If you're like gluing rocks together, yes, because you're using more glue and more, like, then you're going and spraying accelerator on it. But on just a little bit, like on a plug, I don't think it's a big deal. Like, never noticed it to be excessive.
I've never noticed with a wee dollop on a frag plug, but like you said, I've never used it on a skate when you're using a whole load of glue.
I mean, and maybe like I said, if it was like a super big like colony you were trying to glue, then and you were trying to use a lot, then maybe that would be something. But I don't have any big colonies of anything except for the Duncan, and I'm not fragging that ever.
The Canadian Duncan.
Oh, it's a Carolina Duncan.
I didn't say that. Right, I think
Yeah, that was an ORA one. That, and I mean, aside something like that, I don't know how you frag it without
I don't know.
a bandsaw.
Either.
Because
I don't know how you frag it
between
anyway.
the flesh and the skeleton, anything I have that would get through the skeleton, I'd absolutely butcher the flesh. Like,
Yeah, there's
I'm
no
just
way.
thinking of like, the little 4-inch tile saw I have, any of the hand tools.
I was thinking
the
when
bandsaw is brilliant for Duncans. It's because the actual blade is about 2 or 3 mil front to back, or Jim would call that deep, and then less than a mil thick. You can go in between the branches and
So like 330 seconds for those.
So yeah,
I just
bandsaw only for Duncans on me. I've never fragged one without a bandsaw.
yeah, I don't. You would have to have a bandsaw for it, but there's just so many. There's so many heads. I don't know. And then the way the like the actual like it's shaped like a tree, so I don't know how you would like deal with. And the other Duncans I've seen that have been reasonably big have they've had a pretty good base on them too, but this one's just fucking massive.
Something I've noticed when fragging Duncans is that the flesh actually goes quite deep into the skeleton. Because when I first fragged my very first Duncan, I was like, well, I'll take a little bit off and leave the rest with the colony. I was cutting flesh. So I went a little bit further down, and I've learned now roughly how deep to go before I cut that head off.
I mean and not like I said, the base on it is like it's totally encrusted over a 2x2 tile. Like the trunk comes down and like it's completely down over it. I just don't even know.
50 milliliters.
It's not like a branching.
Millimeters. 50 millimeters.
Yeah. Yes. 50 by 50. That's correct.
Metric.
But yeah, that one's definitely more dome shaped than like branching.
Yeah. It's like it's dome shaped for sure. All the other ones that I had have been branching. So I was like, we'll be able to frag it a little bit, but I'd be able to take some off of it and give some away if need, or whatever. But then when I got it, I'm like, holy fuck, what am I going to do with this? Stick it in the tank.
Would it fit in a solo cup?
No.
No.
Fuck no. The top on that thing's like 4 inches. It's like
I'd use my bandsaw. My nippers are way too hard to snip Duncans. I get so frustrated.
Yeah, there's no way. That's not happening.
Yeah, and that's why I haven't messed with trying to frag any of the plates. I don't want to risk butchering it so bad that I just kill stuff.
I hear that.
But your plates split on their own pretty regularly, right?
Just that one is splitting. I think it's a Diaceras. So it's got those, lines on the bottom where it wants to split and it's hanging on just by a thread. It's kind of shaped like Pac-Man right now.
You could clip that off, you think?
Yeah, but
if you
it's
had
so close
to, but
yeah. That it's far enough along where I could force the issue, but at this point I don't care. And then the other one, I thought I killed a plate, but a bunch of babies sprouted up, and I guess once I've popped a couple off the skeleton, they've got like a little stem, so that just pries off, and once they're free floating, they seem to survive. I've sent them as small as dime shaped, but then once they seem to get about, I don't know, maybe about 1.25 inches, they've one of them detached from the skeleton, so hopefully more start, and then they leave that little stem behind. It's kind of neat.
I almost bought my very first plate coral about a month ago, and I said to the guy in the LFS, can you keep that for me? I'll be up for it tomorrow, and he fucking sold it.
What a fucking cock.
So the only other thing I wanted to talk about is the only dip I am really using for new corals now, which is potassium chloride. The amount of stuff that is left in the container after dipping is absolutely unbelievable, and I have seen zero negative effects on any coral I have ever used it on. So yeah, I am converted. And it's the quantity you use to the amount of water you use. I mean, that bag is only 250 grams, and I reckon that will still have potassium chloride in it when I'm dead.
Possibly
It is.
There's no expiration date on it.
Oh, geez.
Do you know what?
Roughly 5 billion years.
It actually doesn't. But this is the hilarious bag that when I posted a photo of it, Mike B said, "That's interesting." The quality of it is between 99 and 100.5%.
They must have given 110% effort when they bagged that
Yeah.
for you.
That's right.
Overachievers.
Check that out.
Potassium chloride magically forms in the bag.
It's pure as fuck.
So I like KCL as a dip because it's so clean. You can see what's going on. Like a lot of the commercial ones with like an Airstone or whatever, they bubble up so much, or like anything iodine based, it's hard to see. And I guess I could use a water pump, but I end up using an air pump usually when I dip. So the bubbling.
Are you using pure, just straight iodine when you're doing your dip? You can't see
No. Yeah. I just empty the whole bottle into the container and I dunk the coral. Nice and frothy. I want it to look like root beer.
I misled a customer with the iodine. I told him like light tea water, and he put half of the bottle. He made like deep south, dark tea bath, and he just shriveled up his hammer to like nothing. He probably half the bottle, and then I showed him next time. I said, "Well, let me show you how to make it." And I did a couple squirts, and his eyes got so big when we were talking. He says, "Oh, I fucking killed it, dude." That was my bad. Tea water is not a unit of measurement for how much iodine to put in.
No.
As a doctor, you should know better, Mr. Budnick.
Yep, that was my mistake.
Yeah.
Do
I
better.
think people would know. Yep, learning.
Right.
Yeah,
So
what is the Seachem Reef Dip? That's the iodine based one. I know whatever the commercial one is. And it's not like it's super dark. It's just with the KCL, it's clear.
Yeah, KCL
And
is
you
super
do
nice.
an iodine dip after you do like a bear dip? Is that what
I
you
don't
would do?
mess
You
with
do a
any
bear
of those. And the KCL is great because I feel comfortable going straight back into the tank, not worried about whatever else
Yep.
comes along for the ride.
So I just want to say on the subject of dips before we move on to the next subject, as I have only ever had one disaster with a dip, and I'm sorry to say it was with the new Red Sea dip. No, my corals did not like it at all. It is so milky you can't see a thing. Not for me. So the only other things I wanted to talk about was photography and buying frags online and how misleading the photos can be. And
That's just a bad idea.
and safety equipment. So I wear disposable rubber gloves anytime I touch corals, just to be on the safe side, because I have a dog and I touch my dog all the time, and I don't want to make him ill or put anything on him that I shouldn't, because I'm obsessed.
Why are you putting your fingers in Dudley's mouth?
I'm not putting them in his mouth. I just don't want to transfer anything to him. It's important.
Probably pretty unlikely.
I don't make my dog ill, but yeah. So sometimes I will wear goggles when I use my bandsaw. I know I should all the time.
Do you have a lab coat for your bandsaw?
It's on order. I've ordered it with a Reefy as fuck logo on it.
Please
Would
put
you
doctor
call
in front of
that
your name.
back? Would you call that back room a lab?
I mean,
And
I
it
would
a
call that a
secret?
lab. That's a
Is it a
nice
secret?
lab.
let's call
Is
it
it?
a lab. Let's call it a lab.
It's a lab. Your fragging room is a lab.
Okay.
You need a coat. Do you have a on the door scientists only sign? Or maybe biologists only?
Yeah, that's
No.
what it should say.
The only reason why I don't have a sign like that on the door is because then I wouldn't be able to go in.
No, you can go in. We've called you that.
Oh, okay.
Now it's okay.
Okay. Because I was going to say I'd have to make the sign simpletons only, and then I could go in.
No. Biologist Ron. We're through.
Biologist.
You're in. You can go in now.
Cool.
Nice.
Can you post me a diploma?
Biologist Jason. You can go in now if you visit, Jason. I've
Man, fantastic.
Don't worry, don't correct me. Don't correct me.
Anyway, I just want to finish that with facts. So photography, etc. Mr. Budney, obviously, I'm sorry to keep pulling you back into it, but you have a store, so you're the person to ask. How do you?
You are our professional panel today.
Yeah.
Sure.
How do you deal with photography, and how do you try and make sure that the photo that is going in your customer's eyeballs is as close to reality as possible?
Well, first, I think the goal when we're taking a photo is to always highlight it in its very best appearance. And usually that's not reality. And that would be for
Agreed.
anybody's Instagram or anything like that. The difference of lights and everything, someone uses a different light at home. I've noticed people get upset that they don't have the same light as me. And if they want to be upset, then they could just throw away their lights and get the same light as me if they want it to look the same. But it's not trickery or anything like that if we don't share the same lights. That's just a difference of what we're doing in the hobby. Filter wise and editing, I only use an orange filter, and then I don't touch saturation or anything. And the orange filter changes golds and stuff, and I don't think there's anything you can really do about that. And torches, it hides purple streaks in the gold torches, and it makes them look like they're all pronounced like just gold. And it's really frustrating. There's no way to like get that purple back. And then overall, you have to turn your lights up brighter than what you normally have them in your tank to get the picture, or else it doesn't show up, or adding exposure. So when I'm doing something, I have to walk around and put my tank in an out of the ordinary setting of super, super bright light that you don't walk in and see, so I can get an image to show up on the website. Now, I've only posted a few online websites and I don't take a ton of pictures, and I only have an iPhone. So I am not a professional photographer. But someone told me recently that you can't sell any photos if you don't just have one on. So I'm just trying to get photos available now.
Okay, so Jim, can you call Zach a professional photographer?
He's a professional photographer now.
That's it.
Zach, you're a professional photographer.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that down.
You've been knighted.
Do you list on your website the lights or how your photos are taken?
No, but I should.
I think the questions I was going to interrupt you with were about the filters, things like that. So super helpful. As a consumer looking at a website, I would like to know what lighting was this taken under? Like what blues, what whites, just to get an idea, because no surprises.
I could put that right in my description.
Yeah, that's extremely fair, I think, of a consumer to ask, because people who are buying those that level of coral, most of the time they do understand a bit about lighting and about exactly what you just mentioned, Russ. Like, okay, I know my corals aren't going to look the same in anyone else's tank. And this is what it looks like under these lights with these settings.
Yeah, it's like cool, here's my approximation of what it looks like at 18K, and here's it at 10K in white light. Here's you're seeing best case, worst case. Form your own opinion on what it's going to look like in your setup.
We have one coral seller here in the UK that the first time they uploaded, let's say 300 frags, they were clearly still really, really into it. And they had like 4 or 5 photos of the same coral in all the different light types of like 300 frags. The next live sale, 1 photo. I mean, you would lose the fucking will to live. I think there is a limit to how far you do have to go. Just be honest about it. If you're going to post 1 photo of a coral, just say, look, this isn't heavy blues. It's on a Radiant Gen 6 XR30 Pro.
Yeah.
And I used an orange filter.
Orange filter on an iPhone camera. There you go.
That's you giving them every bit of information they need. And if they replicate that at home and they don't have those lights, boo-hoo. That's on them. But yeah, I think these people.
The picture is a close-up too.
Yeah.
It looks huge on your screen, your computer screen, and
I think it just goes back to setting expectations. If somebody knows what it is,
you can't see the egg crate behind it.
But then you got some of the online retailers who it's obviously Photoshop, super saturated. And, those are the people where I'm never comfortable buying from them just because to me, it's like if they're willing to enhance the photo so much, if that's their business ethics, what's it going to be like if there's ever an issue?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe maybe that's just me being a little over the top.
No, I totally agree with you, and I think it's really unfortunate that so many people in this hobby are looking at these corals expecting that to look like that in their tank, and it's just down to lack of knowledge. We all know that you look at those photos in these sites and you go, "What a fucking load of bollocks!" Total fucking nonsense.
Yeah, but then that's the thing though. Like they oversaturate them, but then they charge 3 times as much.
Yeah, see, that's
As
bad.
what they
That's
as
bad.
what
I don't know.
that's sometimes
I've
you
had
see
people
that
come in. I'm getting frustrated. Never mind.
And you know what? Maybe that part of the hobby is just not for me, but I get it because I have collectoritis and other parts of my life. So having the
Really?
ultra rare, whatever, limited edition coral, I get it. That attracts to some people, and they want to
we
buy.
don't we don't judge here. We don't judge. I think the industry and the hobby, like what Russ said, like we don't, some people that's what they're in for. I'm like, I don't have those exotic corals. I mean, I have exotic corals, I guess, when you talk to like an ordinary person, but I don't have a lot of those ones that, are selling for $250 for a frag. But
but you also don't care about putting it on Instagram that you bought the latest and greatest
right
limited edition frag.
But even having some coral that might be a little beige with, but maybe you could pull out some pink tips out of it. I mean, I just appreciate the contrast of all the different corals. Like, I just still think they're amazing. They don't need to be oversaturated. They don't, like, I don't even run blues, right? They're all whites. I just think you don't need that to have a really awesome tank. If you want to collect corals and have a jewelry box type tank, I guess, yeah, you want. Or if you want to turn really heavy blues and have, look like a fucking a drifting Tokyo car in the middle of at midnight with neon lights everywhere, I guess you might want to have like.
I could have swore he was going to say unicorn. Never mind.
No, you know what I mean.
Hey,
though
some people like to run the Hydros party mode 24/7.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And they want the inside of their tank to look like the Hydros party mode.
It's all preferences because I'll have lots of people come in and they're like, "Could you please turn on these white lights and can you please turn off these white lights?" And they're just opposites.
So,
there's different people.
I know everyone's familiar with the phrase "the customer is always right."
No,
but the rest of that phrase is the customer is always right in matters of taste. People love dropping the second half of that phrase. It only applies to matters of taste. You can't tell someone what they like. So it's awesome that you're accommodating. So you want to see under full whites? Cool. Here you go. You want under full blues? Knock yourself out. Make your own decision.
That's why Zach's so frustrated. He's trying to please everybody.
Yeah.
I'll be honest,
LFS by me won't do it.
I don't want to take multiple
blues,
pictures. I don't want to take multiple pictures for a coral online that I'm trying to just sell for $5, and then you get disappointed. If you're disappointed over the $5 frag, I just don't want you as my customer, anyways. If you're worried about the light,
Zach, you're doing it right, my man.
That,
you stick to your guns.
How are you gonna be pissed off about a $5 frag? I mean, come on.
That Monty cap you had the other day listed for free. Could you send me a couple? Could you send me a couple other pictures of that one? I'm interested in it.
I have
really like invest some quality photography time into that. I need pictures of each polyp.
The one that was 0. I'm really, but I'm not sure yet.
Last sale too, by accident. I did 3 corals for free last sale by accident.
Hey, look at those metrics though. You're down to 1. That is a massive improvement.
Yeah.
Investors love that kind of
Can we get
quarterly
Bree-
improvement.
Can we get Bree in front of this website before the whole thing falls apart?
I asked her to, but if she would have looked, it would have been fixed.
I'll be honest. I really want Bree on one of these chats sometime. I mean, let's be honest. She is running the shop.
Asked her. She's pretty shy.
That's the whole problem. She's busy running the shop.
She's too busy. She's too busy running the shop. She can't be playing around on the.
She can't be messing around here. That's why Zach's here.
What are you doing today? I'm talking bollocks. I mean, it's just such a
Yeah.
good name.
We're supposed to be fragging, but now it's about poos.
Speaking
Doing
of which,
poos? You got to go
I'm
do
gonna
a
have to go
poo.
shower and make a poo. No make a poo.
Oh, go do a poo.
Okay, I'm out.
I'm out.
Enjoy your poo, Beth.
Yeah, see ya. Have fun, guys.
I
Bye.
should probably get out soon.
Bye.
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 Yeah, I think we should wrap this up. Does anybody
Yeah.
have anything else they want to say with regards to photography and misleading frag sale?
Geez, I think we could do a whole episode on photography.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So let's wrap it up there. Let's do a whole episode on photography then. So thank you
Cool.
everybody for taking part as always, and we will see you on the next one.